Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Ripster daily trade recaps and teachings. So guys, another decent day. Couple of losers, few big winners. Took some patience, morning was chop. So we'll recap everything. Just before that, just a quick introduction. Today I will go a little fast. So these recaps and teachings are from the trades from my community, any trades I trade on Twitter or any trades I share with you guys on the previous YouTube videos. So these trades and teachings are based out of that. Any trades, even if I don't take, but a lot of these trades come from our trading floor, our game plan, and we discuss, either it's a day trade, swing trade, or any kind of other investment play. So that's what we discuss. We try to learn how we made money, how we lost money, what was the setup that made us money, or what was the setup that didn't work. So we try to compare all the setups and try to learn every day something new, and I try to show you everything, my time stamped comments and how we played it and what was my guidance. Every day before the market opens, my team is up few hours before. We go through all the news sources. We create what we call as a game plan. You can see today's game plan front of us. Based upon that, we long or short. We have a fixed system. We have fixed setups that we trade. We do not trade random. If our setup triggers, we take it. If it says long, we long it. If it says short, we short it. And we also every morning I share with my community levels. So these are the levels with which we can trade SPY, QQQ, IWM, all the market plays, right? These market plays are irrespective of the news. They move with the market. AMD was a great example today, how it was a short under these key pivot levels. Apple was a great example, how it was a short under the key levels. So these levels traders can take on their own, and on a trend day they usually work pretty nice, and they can trade based upon our system. They can trade long or short. Then I also have what I call as my day 2 list. On my day 2 list today, PDD was one of the strong ones that was it was one of the weak ones that was short. Then there was snow that was a short on the so let me see, it looks like. So then there was snow which was a day 2 short as well. So we'll go through everything. So these were our day 2, day 3. So this is the introduction, how everything works. On the left hand side you can see my comments from my community. Our community, we have all the scanners, all the voice bots, news, everything is there. And I'll go through each trade idea step by step and talk about what worked, what did not work. Let's start. The first idea that we're going to discuss is AVGO. So the one we're going to look at is AVGO. So let's look at what was the plan on AVGO. Let's go to our news sheet and look at what was AVGO, what was AVGO there. So Broadcom had raised to outperform rating by TD Cowen, right? So they had raised the price target on AVGO was raised, and the support was 1300, the resistance was 1335. As soon as the market open, I see the strength, I see the big strength, I see the dips getting bought out, pushing out of that resistance, and that's where I tell everybody long the lottos, scalp the lottos. And AVGO is not the first time we are trading AVGO. We always trade AVGO. We always trade AVGO. AVGO is on our daily watch list, and today was the upgrade. So we knew that AVGO is going to go. So look at it. So I mentioned it on the voice as soon as it was, and then I updated in my comments as well. Lotto voice, lotto scalps, because when I say scalps, my point is you just start a small position first, and if it starts working, you add into that, and if it keeps working, you add into that, and when it pushes to few 10, 20, 30 points, then you take profits, then add further lottos. Anyways, my first target was 1350. We met the first target, and then I was looking at 1360 because that's where the ATR was going to be 100%. You can see the ATR below. That's how I use it. So 1360 ATR also met, that target also met. Then final target I gave was 1375, and that's where it pulled back, and 1375, and that's why I told that you lock everything there, and then you can get into the next, use the profits to get into the next trade, because we were still holding the 512 EMA cloud trend. It's that simple. Look at that, 512 EMA clouds were holding, and I told everybody now you can get 1400, the 1400 calls, or you can buy with the profit or those lottos and $16 left. Finally we hit the 1400 target. I told everyone, keep the runners for 1400, keep the runners. That means if you had 10 lotos, just keep 2, keep 3, keep 1, right? Let it run. And then we hit our target, and look, hitting my target, after that it faded. Only thing I personally missed was the C minus short back to 34.50. So this is a C minus, this is a 30 rejection of 512 and fading back. That's a C minus short. This is one of the repeatable setups as well that I cover in the webinar. So that would have made a decent amount of money as well. When this breaks, you short it back to 34.50. So anyways, AVGO 1400 scalps went from $3 to $18. Even if you invested $1,000, end of the day, that was a 6 times return. You could have easily made 3-4 grand even if you scaled out. So AVGO, beautiful trade in the community, nailed it. Proud of everyone. Very stress free, right? Because when you take lotto, your risk is defined. You will not lose how much more than how much you put in, right? You see so many people were there. There was Saurabh, Narinder did 100% twice, and so everybody was in AVGO. That was amazing. I mean, look at that. Everybody has that confidence. Some of you I know missed it, but that's fine. Don't have a FOMO. We'll get it next time. Just understand that, right? Why was AVGO important? Because we have traded it so many times. We know the range, and we know that when it moves, then lotos go crazy. So that's why we trade lotos. They expire tomorrow, options. Even if you traded shares, that was fine. You take 100 shares, your small account. You take 200, 300 shares, don't matter. You take those shares, and then you risk like $10-15 and you make $60, right? Even if on 100 shares you risk $1,000-$1,500, you made $4,000. So same thing, right? But shares, I understand, sometimes it's hard to manage. The lotos are better for these kind of big huge movers. Next one we're going to talk about is Apple. So Apple had a bad news today. So let's go back, see our pre-market plan. What was the news on market? So Apple was facing a lawsuit alleged by US government on antitrust laws. So 176 was the support, 177.60 was resistance. So as soon as I saw the support breaking right here, there was actually a trend line which I had drawn, and I saw that breaking down. I knew it's not a long, and once it breaks this pre-market lows, it's a short. Look at the level I gave. Once those levels go, it's a short. I strictly told everybody, do not long, do not long. And look at this 1 hour 50 EMA break as well. So 10 minute is bearish, 1 hour is bearish, daily is breaking under 20 EMA. So you just get out. Even if you're swing, get out. And nice trades from the cloud break. I told everybody 175 is your first target, right? So we hit the 175 because it's yesterday's lows. So that's fine. You cover some there, but it was still heavy. I told everyone, do not buy the dips. Do not buy the dips. It's still heavy. Look here, 175 is the key. It's still heavy. And then it breaks that, fades further, and at that time we were covering most of the shorts, but I had made some good profit, but it was still heavy. So I took some lotos. I took some lotos at 173 break, because on the 3 break I added more on that bounce, and those lotos ended up going 100% for me. You can see here, right? Apple 172.50s I bought for $1.03. Initial dip, sold some for 160, then sold everything for 217. So you can see where I bought those and sold those and sold those. So that was the trick, guys. That was the beauty of this trade on Apple. How it faded, broke down all day bearish. Somebody was trying to buy. I gave warnings, guys. If you try to buy Apple today, you got destroyed. You don't have to make money the short side. Look at the all day trend. Did the Ripster cloud ever turn bullish on Apple? Not a single time. Not a single time, guys. Not a single time. So this was a short, AVGO was a long. So you stay with the trend. Only then you will find consistent success and growth in trading. Right in front of you. I'm giving the targets. I'm telling it's heavy. We give the pre-market levels on Apple. Even if you take our other levels, not from the news sheet, even if you followed those, all you had to do was to follow the system. right? So Apple was a great winner today. Very proud of it. You know, I could have, I was a little late though, right? I could have sized right at open, and all day I would have scaled, you know, really went like hundreds of % on those options. So let's look at coin, right? So coin, as always, every day it's on our watch list. Let's look back and see what was the plan and the levels on coin, right? So level on the coin was Bitcoin was rising, the resistance was 263. I told everybody coin has a breakout over 263. Simple as that. Very strong breakout over 263. Clear levels in pre-market. Nice move yesterday. You take a long over 263 starter, it starts working, you scale in the position, you move your stops, break even. Initially you use your stops at 250 right here, 259 area, $5 or $6 stops. You make, how much did you make? You make over $13-14, you know, one risk to almost two rewards. So that's how you do it. And look at that, right? So I'm sometimes not on the top of all the plays, but those are the price alerts. As they come in, you have to take a long over those pivots. And I gave the targets. I gave 275 targets to everyone, you know, that we should see our 275 target. And by 10:30, we had hit our 275 target, and look where it faded from 275 target, right? Came back. So right from the target. So there was a psychological number target there. Let's look at another big winner for us today, PDD. So guys, PDD was our day 2. So all of you know that how successfully we shorted PDD yesterday, and that's why I have these setups as day 2s. This is what makes, you know, our community, our setup so unique, because we have identified these repeatable setups we trade again and again. So look here, right? PDD was at top of my day 2 setup, 127.64, 132, 134, and as soon as I see it heavy, I said day 2 short. Watch the pops. Look what I said, right? And some people panicked, right? It pulled down and it was bouncing back up. Some people were kind of panicking that, you know, it's bouncing. So I told them, respect it, short the bounce into this 130 area, and look what happened. Pushed, faded back. So from that level that I gave you, or the people in community, PDD day 2 levels, let's look here. 127.64, once 127.64 gave up, then it was a fade all day. You just had to ride it. Pause the screen, look at my commentary here. I guided the short all the way to 122s. Right, I said leave the runners. We touched 122s once, and we again touched the 122s. Right, look at this bearish 2-day candles on PDD. This is, you know, you don't get biased. You just follow the system. Short is a short. You follow the system. That's how we have so many consistent winners in the community. Next one we're going to analyze is recap is Tesla. So what was Tesla? So Tesla was again today bearish, right? It was under the clouds. Let's go back to our levels here, right? So let's look at the Tesla levels we had for the day. Let's go to a level sheet. Support was 176.25. So you see that this support, when it breaks, it pulls back. First of all, when it breaks the 512 clouds, it's going to pull back. So it pulls back. I said under the clouds, no long, only short scalps there. That's what I told everyone, just per the system. Then it breaks the 3450 cloud. Then it fades to 172. Rather than trying to bounce it, if you just shorted it all day on the bounces, you did good. You did good money. So that was the plan there. There was no longs, only short scalps. And that's what I told in the morning, right at open. No longs, only short scalps. And that's what it did. So let's look at these banks today. This was not on our watch list or anything, but this was something I told the community to watch for longs. I mentioned that banks in the 10 a.m. only, right? So I mentioned JP Morgan, I mentioned Bank of America, I mentioned Goldman Sachs, so they were strong. Look at Goldman Sachs, all day trend. You could have easily scalped finding a level. The point of this recap is that we need to know what is moving, what is strong in the market. So we keep eyes on the sectors. Every day I'm on the live stream. So I'm showing the charts. I'm looking at the sectors, what sectors are strong, analyzing the sectors. So today, crypto was initially strong. The banks were strong. The Cathy Wood stocks, those smaller mid-cap stocks were strong. So in end of the day, they ended up much higher than what I discussed in the morning at 10 a.m. They ended up much higher. Most of the banks ended up much higher because of that. So JP Morgan or any other bank you take, so they were good for the scalp side. So just to recap them. Let's now look at quick IPOs that were on our watch list. In this morning, the watch list I shared this morning on the game plan, we had 2 IPOs. Reddit was supposed to IPO today. ALAB was yesterday's chip IPO. The pivot was 68, support was 62. The bias was neutral. If it breaks resistance pivot, we know we can long it, and that's what ALAB did. Let's look at ALAB. So ALAB right at open, it breaks the 68, right? So you should be focused. I was not on this one at the open, but you should easily focus it at the opening trade for the scalps from morning amateur trade from 68 breakout to 74 breakout. Yeah, then you can watch the pullbacks to 512 clouds, trade that, and it ended up going 80, right? If you just held your 68 stops, or if you added in the morning, held 512 cloud stops, you got a nice win from 68 70 bucks to 10 80 bucks, right? And then you stop out when it breaks this. You stop out here. That's where you stop out. Your idle entries are here or here, and you get out. Even if you get out here and you log profits here, so that's the plan. So that's how you trade them. Next one is Reddit, right? So as we know, Reddit was on our watch list today. So I was ready for Reddit. We have our news bots. We have breaking news. They tell us when something IPOs, right? That right away they tell us. If I look at Reddit, and right away it told that 1107, it's also mentioned on the voice. As soon as I saw that, you have to be ready, right? There's no excuse. I tried to share with the community, but if you are not ready, you might not get a good entry. As soon as I saw the strength moving it over 50 bucks, I slammed it. I knew my risk is 50 or 46, so small size, right? 1/3 size. So I slammed it. I slammed Reddit for the 50 versus the 50. I was a little higher. My entry was 51 something, and then I sold first 56, and then I sold rest on the dip as well. So I can show you my, I shared the screenshots as well, right? So these were my Apple. So these were my Apple puts that went they went crazy. My initial puts went 100%, and then you see my other puts that also went much better. So let's look here. So where you go Reddit. Yeah, so you see that I sold Reddit at 56, and as soon as it opened, that's where I told long it. So it was a good scalp, and after that it was a short. After when it was breaking that 50 level, there was a short scalp. Now we'll see what it does tomorrow. Maybe they hold it, maybe they squeeze it, but it's interesting to note that it held the opening price. So when they held this opening price, that's very interesting, right? If it goes over 50 tomorrow, then we long it again. But so these are your 2 levels to watch tomorrow, right here, 51, 50, 47, and the opening price. So we'll be ready. We'll be day 2 on Reddit tomorrow. We are not going to leave it. Had good trades today. It did try to short it but it came back on our 50. I closed it, but managed it well. Next one we're going to quickly recap is 5. So let's look what was the plan on 5 this morning. The plan on 5 was pretty straightforward. If it rejects the cloud short, cautious of B- bounce. The resistance was 186. The support was 182. So let's see what 5 did for us. What did 5 do? So 5 rejected the cloud. So we know it's bearish, but it was not breaking down. It was not breaking the support I gave everybody, this 182.50 area. It was still bearish. It was not bullish, not going up, not going down. So we were waiting for that confirmation that that it breaks down. And I mentioned on the voice when it was breaking down, I mentioned to everyone on voice that 5 is finally breaking down. this is what I mentioned on the voice, and it break down, and that's when I said if it breaks 178 you can get much lower, and from that my level that I gave in the pre-market, that gave you low of the day, then 178 level break. You can pause the screen and see that. You won't see what I mentioned on the voice. And then 176.40 target, I told everybody leave the runners at and the runners, they went on to hit 175, and then I told time to exit. So you can see the planning, right? The planning 5, the levels, pre-market plan, and the short and the fade. And I'm very proud of the traders who were executing themselves, right? So they were executing themselves. RGV was short at 5, Shake was short, RVSR was short. It was not breaking out, it was not breaking out because it was under the clouds. So you wait first 10 minutes if you have any doubt. Michael Baker. So everybody were doing really good on 5 there. So why 5 was a good successful trade. Next one we're going to talk is Accenture. So Accenture, let's look at what was our plan on Accenture. Let's check out our plan. What was our planning on Accenture? So let's go back and look at our planning. So Accenture, wide range 350 to support, resistance 368. If holds, watch the B minus bounce, otherwise we short it. So it took its sweet time. It rejected. Look at the resistance that I gave you. I gave you 368 resistance, and look where it rejected. Right? If you are having a limit short orders, that's much better entry, but I'm sure it's hard to get that entry. But even when it fades here, you can still short it here under the 512s. Then you can short it. So I shorted it right away on the second candle. Then I was ready to add when 350 breaks, but 350 was not breaking, it was bouncing. I was ready to stop out if it went over 512, but the patience worked. It rejected 512, failed 350, bounced, failed 350. At end of the day, it hit 342s, right? My puts went 100%, and so ACN was 245, puts went 100%, and I was out at, actually if I did hold a little bit longer, I would have got much more. I could have got $3-4 more on this Accenture short. But look at this fade, guys. Look at the pre-market planning. Look at the fade. All day solid fade on Accenture, all day as per the pre-market planning. That's why you hold your winners all day. You do not become impatient. You let it work. Follow the planning. Let's talk about a loser. Loser was DRI. It was, the plan on DRI was similar to what we had on 5 and all those. So DRI, bearish bias to short, 163 support, 166 was resistance, 169 was resistance. So if you see initially it fades, so we shorted, and then it bounced to 169. When this bounce happens, I should actually have trusted my 166 resistance, but I bailed, and we were looking for the curl, and then we tried to curl it, and the curl did work, and then it broke again. The mistake I did was I did not reshort it, but I did tell everyone that curl is not working, right? So curl did not work. So that's what I told everyone. So we lost money on the short, the curl. It was a B minus curl anyways, but then it faded. So then it faded right here on this one. Then it faded right back. And look at the fade from 165 to 162. So this secondary trade is which could have helped us recover all our losses in the morning from DRI. So anyways, that was the idea kind of worked, but the execution was mismanagement here on DRI. So next one we're going to talk about is Micron. So Micron, the plan was, it was same like Oracle. I posted a tweet how it was a gap up and chop. Some stocks will not fade. We faded PDD every day, but the same thing Oracle did when it gapped up, pulled under the clouds, held it and chopped, right? Same personality Micron today. So there was some short scalp at the open. After that there was nothing. I know some people traded the bounce. That's what I guided, the bounce versus this 10850 area. If you can pause and see my guidance, you will see what I said exactly on Micron You can see there's a confirmed buyer at 108.50 after this initial short scalp. Versus that buyer, you can bounce it, trade long scalp, but I was not touching it. I didn't lose money on it, so I'm very proud of the execution. Because if it's not giving a big gap fill, I know it's going to chop, and it kind of worked. It was slow range for my taste, but from this buyer, I told everybody that 108.50 is the buyer. It was good risk to trade couple of points twice. So yes, pause the screen and read what the MU trade was, why it was better to save money and not lose money on Micron. We learned our lesson from Oracle because we lost in Oracle trying to get in this chop. So we implement our previous lessons here. So very important. I'm just going to quickly talk about AMD because AMD in the morning I warned everybody do not long. So look at the levels on AMD, right? The level 183, 182.10. So when those support levels break down, you do not want to buy there. Why do you want to buy something which is bearish, which is under the bearish trend? And look, from that 183 level, it faded all the way to 177. So that was like almost $5 short for you. You don't need to buy that. That was the short. And this is why I'm proud of my guidance, because I make sure people, I know new people still don't listen to my teachings, but my old community members who have been in my community for some times, they understand this and they are not losing money going against the trend. Lose money with the trend, that's fine, because you will understand your entries with the trend. But losing money on the buying dips is a very bad habit that will kill you, right? The same thing happened to people in Lulu after hours when I keep screaming, do not buy the dips when there is no setup. There is no setup. There's no business buying here. You can buy here, but right here, there's no business buying. Anyways, good levels, good commentary. I'm proud of my guidance, and was a good short. But I'm watching this for a swing, by the way. So we'll see what it does tomorrow. It's still holding the 50 EMA support. So I will put some chart on it. So next one, we're just going to look at SPY QQQ. What was it doing? So SPY QQQ in the morning kind of gapped up, right? It gapped up and it spoiled our setups. I thought it's breaking out, so that's why I told everybody to long it, SPY quick long it. And I told about QQQ long it, but it failed to break out this level. I gave these levels in pre-market. So if you look at those levels, 523s, 523.80s, and QQQ 448.60s, all those levels, these levels, and then QQQ still went over the pre-market level, but then that became the resistance for whole of the day. So anyways, we were long at the open. When it pulled back, I stopped out, took the loss, and I had no interest in after that, because I know it's going to chop. It's not breaking down. Yeah, it broke down end of the day because it failed this resistance not once, but 1, 2, 3 times. 1, 2, 3, so you see that. Yeah, you can short that B minus scalp, right? You see that? So these are the simple concepts you need to learn. Where's the buyer, where's the seller, where's the resistance? If it broke out, we would have traded the long breakout. It did not work. But anyways, we didn't. You see this candle, that's where we stopped out. Even though it was 34.50, we were trying to trade the breakout, didn't work, took the loss, moved on. We'll try to focus on it tomorrow. All right, guys, that's it for today. If you want to trade with me, trade in our community, do join. Do not come for alerts. There should be a discount coupon for annual members in the description. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.